Greetings, everybody. Welcome to the Trans Files. And tonight we are going to be talking about the intersex community. And I wanted to go ahead and put this disclaimer out here. Well, I mean, right now at T.R.A.N, we don't currently have any intersex members, but I encourage more to come to this network. And please humble us and educate everybody about this community, because this community does not get awareness and it's very depressing. So please just come on. And if we get something wrong, please call us out. We want to make sure that we're providing the right information to our audience. So I encourage you all to please give us any type of feedback after we do this. So if you want, let's just go ahead and just jump right in when it comes to the intersex community. Me and Tsukuru both watched this documentary. It was like Intersection, I believe that's what it was called.
Yes.
And it was the many stories of the intersex community. And let me tell you, I was really, really humbled after watching it, because I knew a little bit about the intersex community, and I'll just be completely honest. But after really watching that, I really had I had a bit of ignorance. I will be real, because I kept saying it's like the trans community has it bad. Yes, we have it bad. The intersex community has it a lot worse than us. They literally are not talked about. They're just put on the back burner. And on top of that, the intersex community also shares a lot of struggles that the trans community actually struggles with, being able to fit in. But also, the intersex community, even though there is a universal definition for the intersex community, they do share the same things, but also they are very unique in their journeys too. And I thought that tonight would be a good time that we finally spread awareness for the intersex community, because they are part of the LGBTQIA+. They are the I in that acronym. And they need to be acknowledged. But on the other hand, too, we also kind of decided to just kind of take a break from the political discourse, because that political discourse can be really, really, really exhausting.
Yep.
So I wanted to gather your thoughts about this, Tsukuru, just kind of like your reaction to this documentary that you watched.
Yeah. Let me actually say hi to people. Hi, Brandy, and hi. I don't know if we know you in person, but hi, Digs Between Seven. Yeah, welcome. Thank you for watching. And yeah. So yeah, I will be honest. Yeah, I mean, as Noah said, I have to preface it, by saying that everything that will come out of my mouth is really purely, what Noah just said, purely my reaction to the documentary, because I'm not gonna pretend that I know a lot about intersex community. I don't. Whatever I can say today is just a little knowledge that I gained, through watching that documentary, and also my emotional reaction. So I was actually, to be very honest, I was very kind of I was hesitant. I'll be honest with you, Noah. I was hesitant to do this episode, but yeah, okay. But I wanted to do it, and as I said, I wanted to let people know first that, again, sorry, I'm just beating the dead horse, I guess here, but yeah, this is purely my reaction to that documentary. It is a very good documentary. For people who don't know me very well, I actually studied documentary filmmaking in college, so I know a thing or two about documentary filmmaking, and also I really love documentary films. So I mean, it's an excellent documentary film. I actually recommend it to everyone and anyone who wants to learn about intersex community. It's directed by an intersex person too, so that's actually huge plus, because it's not like somebody from the outside of the community, going in and making film. It
Mm-hmm.
just really represent a lot of different voices within that community. So yeah, yeah. I mean, okay. So anyway, so that was my lengthy preface, but um, yeah. I mean, I guess I'm like you. I was just left kind of speechless because it's just kind of shocking that how much we don't know, and it's because of the secrecy that's put upon them. Really, it's like, uh, yeah. I mean, the saddest thing, and also like the most outrageous thing about how we treat that community is just that very secrecy that we force upon them, and that I think really makes their lives very very difficult.
Mm-hmm. And just kind of give a reference to those mental challenges, okay? Most of these kids, they are subjected to surgeries as young as age 1, and it continues throughout their childhood. And you know what's funny, because they're accusing trans people of mutilating their genitals and stuff like that. They're doing that to the intersex community.
See, okay, one thing I didn't know, right? I mean, Noah, you said it just now. So it's kind of like, so I mean, I did sort of hear about the surgeries that people do to these kids, and but I mean, what I didn't know was like it's not like they fix them in one surgery and that's it, because they um have issues like for a long time, like years and years and years, because uh, maybe not everyone, but some of them have problems that they have to keep fixing, like medical issues, and that. I mean, that really broke my heart. Remember that the kid, like the boy, that had
Mm-hmm.
to like every summer, he had to like lie to his friends that he's going on vacation, when in fact he was like spending summers at hospital,
Yeah, it was like
because
17
yeah,
days.
remember that was like
Yeah,
that was heartbreaking.
17 days in the hospital.
Yeah, heartbreaking.
And like the sad thing about the intersex community, I think that really should be highlighted. These kids don't have a choice when it comes to expressing their gender. You know that one story, there was one, I can't remember her name right offhand, but like they had, and I want to just put this as an overall trigger warning because I know talking about anatomy can be very triggering for dysphoria. So I just wanted to make sure I put that out there. But one of the people that was on there, they had to literally go fix her bottom area because it was too big. And honestly, it's like the fuck. Gender norms, you can go kiss my ass. Like, why does it have to be a certain way?
Mm.
Like, if you want to talk about gender norms, I mean, it's really put on with the intersex community. Like, it is practically forced on the intersex community.
Mm.
Literally. These doctors, that is the thing that I also want to highlight. Yes, trans people do get discriminated in healthcare, but intersex people get it the worst. I was reading an article that there is doctors that actually do not want to treat, or quote unquote treat, I should say, the intersex community. You know why? Because you can find them contradicting themselves in their ethics. They
Mm.
basically encourage these parents to dictate to their children what they should be, first off, but they also encourage them to not tell their kids the truth. That is absolutely disgusting.
Yeah.
And you remember that one story? It was another boy, but like I believe it was his brother or something like that. Even as a kid, like they were subjected to bullying. Like I think it was one of the brothers. He went and pulled his pants down
Mm.
to show off his genitals, and I'm just like, the fuck, really? Like they're seen as absolute freaks. They
Mm-hmm.
are not freaks. The fact that they also the ones that actually get determine their gender, and I think you and I were just talking about this about one of them, wasn't it, wanting to transition to female, I believe, or was it male?
Yeah, well, I mean, okay, so I think there were a couple though. I think okay, so what happened to one person? I think what happened was God, I think he was raised as she. Yeah, yeah, that's right. He was raised as she, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
raised as girl, but she transitioned later
Mm-hmm.
on. Yeah, and remember, like he had a female partner. So
Yep.
essentially, like they kind of started out with as like lesbian, but while they were dating, well, they started living together, and she transitioned. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And let me just remind people what these garbage justifications that these doctors are using when it comes to actual like performing these surgeries. They're relying like simply alone on chromosomes. That is their justifications for doing this. I actually am just going to flat out say it, mutilation.
Yeah.
That's all it is. I am so sick and tired of the anatomy. Like, this is why I hate gender norms so much. It's like, why does it have to go to physical traits? Why do people have to live a certain way? Like, why do they have to meet these expectations? And
Mm,
the thing about the intersex community, it is like the fitting in. Just imagine what it is for them, not being able to be in a society. Well, for one, when they're not being talked about, but also like they're basically just like, okay, well, fuck you guys don't matter. I know a few intersex people too, and I mean, I've heard their stories. Everyone is unique. There is at least I was one of the stories too, of the individuals they're talking about. They have like over 200 surgeries on her lower.
mm,
Two fucking hundred surgeries, all because they wanted to. I know she was having something medically that was going on, but like all because they wanted to meet to what society considers normal. And this was all before like she hit adolescence too, by the way.
mm.
That's insane. That's just so fucking insane. I think the argument with the intersex community when I was watching that documentary was the whole nature versus nurture argument. Okay, look, that conversation has been a debate for fucking centuries. But I will tell you, just as a social scientist, because that's technically what I am, I believe personally nature and nurture can be integrated. I don't think it's a singular issue. I think they both can be integrated. You know why? Because our brains are like a computer. We intake information. Yes, we have our genetics, but essentially at the end of the day, what we learn, it's going to be programmed into our heads. Don't rely so much on the nature shit. Like, seriously, it's not all about biology. Don't dictate to
Yeah.
people what they should be.
Yeah. The tricky thing about not that, sorry, not that, not that. Okay, I was gonna say tricky thing about I think, yeah, this was kind of revelation to me, so I'm just like kind of trying to choose my words carefully. But so I guess sort of like mainstream treatment that that's been practiced on on the intersex people. I think they adopt this doctor's theory about so his thing was that if someone is socially raised as in a certain way, they can easily adopt, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's the thing though. So that's kind of tricky, while I feel like okay, that sort of makes sense, but I think it's really hard for many intersex children and intersex people because their gender was chosen, you know, without their input, because it was like chosen for them, when they're infants, right? Essentially,
Mm-hmm.
and they were raised as such, as their the gender that was like put upon them, essentially, and people expect them to kind of like become that gender, right? Because it's not like it was not their choice, but it was like a socially chosen for them. But at the end of the day, it doesn't work for them because it was not their choice. So
Right.
I just feel like that argument is so it's just so difficult because it's like I guess, okay, in a way I'm thinking, while I talk, in a way I'm agreeing with you, Noah, because I think we just really cannot choose like either or, it's not like um nature comes first or nurture comes first. I think uh because people are all different, and I think at the end of the day, I think their choice matters, and also I think ultimately we have to say that, like, well, who people are, you know however they are, should be fine. It has to be fine. And I think it's like suffering comes from like being told that, well, how you are is not okay and we have to fix it. Mm.
I will say, because there's lack of research when it comes to the intersex community, we don't know like if there's any like known violence towards the intersex community. We don't have that type of information. I mean, that's how bad that is an example of erasure or trying to. They're not
Mm.
even doing anything. And actually, I'm glad you brought that up about being able to dictate to children what their gender should be. There was one person, and I can't remember her name, but she basically was saying seeing signs like it's a boy, it's a girl, it's triggering for her. She was suggesting there should be signs that said, hey, it's a baby.
Mm.
Honestly, I agree with that,
Yeah.
just in general, because we are in this society now where there are different genders. They're being talked about now.
Mm.
So that's a way we can be an inclusive society. It's all in the wording. Get rid of gender norms. They can go somewhere else with it.
Right.
And I actually, there is another person, and he was a guy. This story particularly kind of broke my heart. He was saying that basically every time he walks around, he is under the assumption that he's gay when he's not gay.
Mm.
Since when did looking at a person dictate what orientation that they were going to be? Okay, like, I mean, seriously. I mean, people make mistakes, though. It's like you can say, okay, well, I'm sorry. Well, first of all, nobody should be automatically assuming anything, first
Mm.
off. But
Yeah.
if you do, hold yourself to account and be, look, I'm sorry. Let that person correct you. But I mean, yeah, PSA, do not have automatic thoughts like that. That's not a good thing to do. When it comes to like mental health aspects, some of these people turn to addiction. I remember that same story that we were referencing earlier. She turned to addiction because she was not happy. That's like that with trans people too, when they're basically
Yeah.
subjected to stay in the closet. They turn to those type of behaviors, and it's dangerous. That's why this whole thing, and this is the only time I really am going to mention this though. That is why this whole bullshit garbage bill that Marjorie Taylor Greene is proposing is garbage. That is not going to save children. That is going to destroy children. Everything is easily accessible now. We do not
I
care about
mean,
children at all. Go ahead, Tsukuru.
yeah, no, I even hate to say it, but yeah, yeah, I hate to say it because it's just kind of but this is a reality, so I'll say it. But yeah, I mean, they don't really care about life, right?
Yeah,
Y-
that's why I
You
don't
know,
call them
it's not even
pro-lifers.
children. It's the same as like what we when we talk about healthcare in general. You know, they don't care about life. I mean, okay,
No,
if they care about life, I mean, how can they issue a bomb threat to hospital? You know, like Boston Children's Hospital, right? I mean, they had to shut down because there was a bomb threat. You know, people have to know we are reaching the point, and I think people should be appalled by this. And if you are not, I don't know what to tell you, but really, really, let this sink in. You know, people have a political opinions, and to some extent, I do respect and honor people's opinions, but when you get to the point where you have to issue a bomb threat against hospital, children's hospital, I mean that's fucked up. You know, you
well,
have to admit that you don't care about people's life. You know, you don't. I mean, how can you do that? You know, you can have different opinions, but you are threatening and you are risking. You are, yeah. I mean, you cannot do that. You know, you really do not care about life. What you care about is just you being right.
that's all it is. It's Karen entitlement syndrome. It needs to fucking go away. Like, enough with it. Okay, Karens are annoying. We don't need any more of that type of annoyance. And by the way, what you're referencing to, blame the chick at Libs of TikTok. She started all this stuff. Like, that's why I don't call them pro-lifers anymore, because they really aren't for human life.
Mm,
It's really all for themselves. It's an ego problem. They really need to seek some mental health counseling or something. And as Brandy said, yeah, they don't care about any of us. As long as they can capitalize on our pain, that's all that fucking matters to them. It's fucking depressing. But I actually wanted to go ahead and share my screen and just go over a little bit of statistics, because what I have found in my research when it comes to the intersex community, there's only one organization that represents the intersex community, and I'm just sitting there like, the fuck, there's many organizations when it comes to the trans and everybody else in the LGBTQIA plus, but why is there only one fucking organization in the US? So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen as soon as I actually find the tab. So I want to give everybody just kind of a little bit of an education. So this is from the Intersex Society of North America. So this is the organization that I was actually referencing to. When it comes to the intersex community, and this is something I want people to actually really like take in. This is a quote. If you ask experts at medical centers how often a child is born so noticeably atypical in terms of genitalia that a specialist in sex differentiation is called in, the number comes out to 1 in 1,500 to 1 in 2,000 births. But a lot more people than that are born with subtler forms of sex anatomy variations, some of which won't show up until later in life. That's what I'm saying. They are unique. That is unique. Not everyone is going to experience the same thing. So when you hear the term intersex, it doesn't mean one big thing. There are differences. These are actually recent stats. So people that are not specifically XX and XY chromosomes, there's only 1 in 1,666 births. This androgen insensity syndrome, now this is one that actually caught my eye. It's because what basically androgen insensitive, I cannot even talk tonight, insensitivity syndrome, I don't care if I get it right. is basically they have a hard time like really taking in testosterone. It's resistant to the male hormones. Imagine an intersex person that was subjected to live as female, but they still didn't, they wanted to be as a man. It would be very challenging for them to actually get on testosterone because they would be rejected. Their body couldn't take it. I want people to look at these stats and really let them sink in. And if anybody is interested in looking more into death, please look into this website. It is isna.org. That is just like, when I read about that specific syndrome, I was just like, oh my goodness. I can only imagine what they would be going through. It is hard. Like I said in my little special message, I wouldn't wish that feeling even on my enemies. You know how challenging it is to like live in your own skin that you don't even want to be a part of? Like, people have tried to like hurt themselves. Like with my child, for example, when she first came out as trans, what she was doing, she was biting her skin. She was biting her arms. She's actually biting my legs, actually, like my knee. And I had asked her, I was like, why are you doing that? I don't want to be in my skin anymore. Imagine a parent and you're watching your child do that. But yet we're out to, we got to go and save the children, right? Imagine that if that was an intersex child. Parents, if you have a child that is intersex, same thing applies to every little acronym in the LGBTQIA+. Please provide a safe and affirming environment. Do not hide their medical records from them. They deserve to know. That is the thing that people like really need to emphasize. If there is things that people know and you're not sharing them with them, especially if it's very personal, that's going to destroy them. And it's going to raise all these unnecessary questions. So I encourage you all, please talk to your children. Even now. Because what if, you know, you have a child that goes to school and another kid says that they're intersex? It's very important that you get educated on that. Yes, please look up resources. But also, if you can, maybe find a support group for intersex people and listen to their stories. Because again, they are very unique. I mean, the fact that they're not talked about at all, it scares me. Like, I can only imagine like how they feel when they're not getting talked about. You remember in the documentary, there was a musician and he said the same thing. He goes out there and he spreads awareness about intersex. He does it proudly. More of us need to be doing that with all of our communities, and we should do it with every single other community too. We can spread awareness. And again, I'm not gonna pretend and say that I know all about the intersex community, because you know I truly am not gonna understand that. I will never understand that. I can't relate to what they feel, but what they feel is like 10 times. And honestly, my heart goes out to them. The fact that they were subjected to so many unnecessary things just to meet the gender norms. I think that's the thing that really actually bothers me. Is the fact that they had to have modifications to their body because it was not appropriate to how society sees things. And did you guys actually know? So I actually found this here. So actually, doctors engage in this practice. It's actually called, it's a concealment centered approach. In other words, I don't want to go over like technical language about it, but in other words, what it does, it basically downplays the issue. It basically encouraged people to lie to their patients. And simply, doctors just don't care. They don't care about that aspect.
Okay, so let's just stop and talk about that a little bit, because that's what I was actually kind of thinking in my mind for the last like 5 minutes or so. Not that, I mean, I was listening to you, Noah. Don't worry about.
No,
I
no, no,
was
no, no, no,
listening to
no.
you, but no, no. What was going through my mind was like, so I have a question in my mind and the thoughts, but I just wonder though, because I feel like the education, in a serious education in the medical community is needed though, I feel
Yep.
like. And I just don't know, and I am like willing to find an answer for myself, but like I just wonder, like, what is the sort of like a standard, that they are being taught. I mean, is there like, yeah, in a medical school, because I am concerned, because I remember early on in that documentary, uh I don't know, whoever was saying that, so when the baby's born, right, and the
Mm-hmm.
doctor tells parents something like, oh, there's some abnormality with your child, but we can fix it, it's a very easy fix. And when parents are approached that way, and I was like, I was like watching the documentary, and I was thinking, like, I was putting myself in their shoes, the parents. When it's spoken that way though, I can kind of see like many parents react by saying, oh, good, they can fix it, it's an easy fix, like, please, do it for this child, right? I mean, in a way they're being fooled. I mean, parents are being fooled too, because they
Yes.
actually may not know what the abnormality that they're referring to, because the doctor, doctor may be like using misleading language to describe the issue, or not describe the issue really, actually, you know so I kind of feel for the parents too, because they actually may not know uh the mistake that they're making, or what, how they are being misled, thinking that they are doing a good thing for their child. In fact, when they are mutilating, or they are allowing doctor to mutilate their child, you know um yeah, so I'm curious, like, what's being taught about intersex, at the medical school,
So
right?
I'm glad that you mentioned that actually, Sukuru, because I want to pull up this article, and it's basically it's titled "Why is Healthcare Not a Friendly Place for Intersex Individuals?" And let me get out of this. Oh my God, I can't believe it led me to that. Okay, so it is challenging to find doctors who work with intersex adults. So this is just an interview, so I'm just going to basically just kind of just read it. So basically, they're overall asking what are the difficulties. So this person puts it, first of all, we often have to live according to medical prescriptions. If the doctor decides to decide us as boys or girls, we sometimes don't have the right to control our bodies and gender identities as we want. Right there, their autonomy is getting taken away.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, most of us don't have access to medical records. Often we can't say, quote unquote, no to medical
Mm-hmm.
researchers who study us like mice for their scientific dissertations. Okay, and I'm just going to actually stop there for a second. This is exactly why there's a stigma when it comes to healthcare. This is why people don't want to go to healthcare. This is why people also don't want to go see mental health providers. Because this is what we're seen as. We're just a bunch of mice and their experiments, in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that engages it that stuff doesn't happen all the time in mental health, but I mean it brings off that way. Like it brings off that vibe.
Mm-hmm.
But continuing, intersex people should also be careful when talking with doctors about their intimacy and sexual life because some doctors can send us to psychiatric clinics
Mm-hmm.
if they decide we live out of the norms they have established for us. This happened to this person in Russia. And back to your point about fixing. So basically, the answer to what this person says, most insurances don't cover our hormone therapy. We may have to choose between a binary identity or a physical disability. or to be ourselves and pay a high price for our freedom. Okay, I'm going to stop for a minute. This is exactly why our healthcare system is garbage. That whole thing with Roe v. Wade, this affects them. This is going to affect them very greatly. I mean, they're already struggling. They can't even get health care. So they can't even get the things they need. But, doctors don't have an issue with it because they can make a profit off of it. And to highlight Brandy's comment,
Yeah.
none of us want to see our children hurt or be bullied. That is exactly why we need to change the way society responds as a whole.
I agree with that. Yeah.
We really do. Like I've said, this society has become a very performative one. It's like logic and reason do not exist. I kind of blame that in 2016. I feel like that's when things started kind of getting dumbed down a little bit. And it's just gotten a lot worse.
Well, I mean, it's not only this country though, Noah. And I feel like, yeah, I'm so glad that Brandy put that comment because it's just really so right on. I think that, so we hear this argument all the time. From okay, so I'm from Japan. I always reference Japan, but from American parents, from Japanese parents, we hear it in both countries, like where, uh, you know, uh, so their children come out as LGBTQ, trans, gay, lesbian, bisexual, whatever, and then parents worry that, oh no, I don't want my child to go through a hard life, difficult life. I don't want my kid to be bullied. So that's why they want to make their child not gay or not trans, or whatever, right? So while I feel like I always like tell these parents, if I have the opportunity, that, well, I do understand your concerns, and I actually go so far as to be sympathetic, because I'm a parent too, and you're a parent too, Noah. So I do understand that we all worry. We don't want our kid to have a hard life, right? We want them to have a easy life. So
Right.
but but maybe we are blaming on a different thing though. I mean, it's like because what we have to blame, what's to blame is how the society is act toward gay people, trans people, like uh we are not in the wrong. I mean, what's wrong with a society that bullies us, right? So, parents actually, if they are wanting to fix something, they should be working towards fixing the society, and not their kids, right? I mean, yeah. So, yeah, I just wanted to
Well,
say.
no. See, that's the thing. And, I often ask the question, though, what's stopping you from changing it? That's a question I would be answering. I actually had a coworker. She had told me that I believe it would have been her future stepchild that is trans. And, she kind of gave me a little shit when I told her my kid was trans and how old she was. She's like, oh, that's definitely too young. I'm like, no, she's of age. I mean, she's an adolescent. I mean, to be fair, she's been on blockers and hormones for the past 2 or 3 years. But the key thing that she said is exactly what you just said. I'm afraid what's going to happen. And this is the problem. We need to start going out there and changing people's thinking. No, I'm not saying converting or indoctrinating, so I do not want to have any transphobes taking that comment out of context. I'm just putting that as a PSA. But we need to be educating and providing affirming spaces. We need to combat the hate that's going on. As I've said many times, it just takes one fuck up to make a stigma. We need to fight that stigma.
Yep.
There are plenty of people too. Okay, and again, I'm going to bring this up with people of color. Imagine with them being intersex. That is a double stigma right there. That is 10 times rough. I mean, it's just 10 times rough. I'm actually going to go back to my screen. Actually, I accidentally exited out of it. So let me go back to it because it was talking about the mental health aspect. So, what about mental health? This person said intersex people live in a situation of estrangement and non acceptance. We continuously face fear and hate. We begin to be ashamed of ourselves. I want people to really let that sink in, that phrase alone. That is what humbled me. Right there. When you start shaming other people, it puts them back in the closet. So all the gatekeeping that's going on with gender norms that's been occurring in our community, I want y'all to really kind of sit back and reflect on that statement. Humble yourself. You would not want anybody shaming you. We get it in society constantly. Don't do it to other members of our community. We should not live in a world where we're continuously facing fear and hate. Again, I am not going to speak on the behalf of the intersex community because, again, I would definitely love to have an intersex person speak on this.
Mhm.
But my thing is, just imagine being somebody in the intersex community, the trans community, what they have to go through in the morning when they wake up. I said this in my special message. When I wake up in the morning, I say a little prayer. But then at the same breath, I'm asking myself questions. Am I going to get discriminated again today? Is somebody going to cause harm to me physically today? Am I going to be given the look? Am I going to be worried about not passing? That causes a lot of mental stress and physical stress. It beats them down. We must be acknowledging of this. It's very sad to see. But this actually continues on with this article. We lose ourselves. It is difficult for us to open up and ask for help from other people. Thus, intersex people often live with the experience of deep trauma that connects with their bodies. And this question actually got to me. Can you imagine a person who lives with such violence and lies from the beginning? When I think about intersex people, I often remember the Evan Munch painting, The Scream. Our scream is a cry of pain in the desert. Unfortunately, there are not a lot of studies on how to provide mental support for intersex people. We are still one-on-one with this world. That right there, that pisses me off as a mental health professional. I definitely am going to talk to my professor about this, actually, since I am doing research when it comes to this. I'm definitely going to mention that because I would definitely love to have more studies out there to where we can actually help the intersex community.
Mhm.
The fact that they don't have a safe space to go. The fact that mental health professionals especially have painted them out to be just, we're not going to really talk to them. And it scared them. Imagine that, people. You're depressed. You're intersex. You have no support around you. You don't have mental health. Say if your parents are basically being ass wipes to you. Especially if you're considering going to the gender you feel that you are. I really want people to really imagine that in their head. Put your privilege to the side. Culturally humble yourself. Please spread awareness about this. The intersex community, in my opinion, has broken my heart. And, you know, now more than ever, I want to amplify their voice. Because this bill is going to affect them too. But I didn't want to go ahead and take over this. So, Tsukuru, I'm going to go ahead and let you come in.
No, you okay. Um, no, you okay. It's I don't know what to say. Yeah, I don't know what to say. Yeah, really.
Well, actually, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and actually pull up another article. Okay, so you know what they actually, you know, accuse the LGBTQIA plus us. They accuse us of being groomers. Okay, so let me go ahead and talk about that pretty briefly. Okay, and you want to say that we do this shit. So I'm actually going to go ahead and put this on my screen. This was an actual study. Grooming. Intersex people are exposed to medicalized rape. That is grooming. So let me go ahead and just read this briefly. The practices described below are often stated at a young age to prevent intersex children from resisting medicalized rape and sexualized violence. A Dutch urologist told at a conference that she has specifically chosen to start performing genital examinations at a prepubescent age because children are more cooperative at that time. That's fucking grooming. See, I often find them funny. Every time somebody says that we're groomers, I don't want to laugh it off, but I kind of do laugh it off. They do this to intersex children. Everything that's going on right now, like you said, Tsukuru, again, is just their Karen entitlement syndrome. I'm going to go ahead and actually continue because this whole article is actually interesting, and I'm actually going to see about posting the link to this article. It was actually really good. They're exposed to repetitive genital examination. So while growing up, all countries, they're subjected to regular genital exams. Okay, and I actually want to put this PSA too, even with the trans community. Trans men, we don't like going to the gynecologist. That's triggering. That's hella triggering. I mean, until I actually get full on bottom surgery, I still have to go see a gynecologist. Do you think I really want to go to a fucking gynecologist? Hell no. Because it's triggering. Imagine that for an intersex kid. That's 10 times more of the mental torture than what a trans person goes through. Because it's physically seen. Sometimes it's not. Like I stated before. Sometimes it's pretty obvious. Sometimes it's not. I just want to scream at people. I swear. So when it comes to their hormone treatment, so let me go ahead and actually dive into this. So when they actually remove like the gonadal material that makes the hormones, intersex people have to actually regularly, they require this access to hormone treatment provided by health workers. This dependence makes them more likely to be forced into procedures that violate their autonomy, such as submitting to genital examinations without any medical need. Here's something that's interesting for you, actually, Tsukuru. A non-binary intersex person anonymously reported how a health worker raped them. They submitted to gain access to hormone treatment that they needed. They required estrogen due to being castrated as an infant. However, their physician was unavailable, so the replacement doctor refused, keyword, refused, to prescribe the hormone treatment that they had been using for over 2 decades without investigating the vagina. They submitted to his demands as they knew they would feel ill without the medication. I don't want to read the rest of it because it's very triggering, but needless to say, that person needs to fucking lose their license.
Yeah.
Any thoughts about that, Tsukuru? Because honestly, after reading that,
Hmm.
I'm pretty pissed off now.
Yeah, okay. So what's been going through my mind is many things, but well, first of all, um so obviously like they they want to make it all about genitals, right?
Yes.
That's how they kind of that's sort of like how they want to how that's kind of like one of their talking points against trans people too, because
Yes.
they just want to determine who, what gender we should be based on our genitals. So this obsession with genitals, I was just kind of thinking, kind of pondering upon that, because wow, what's up with this social, obsessions, over genitals. So that's one. But so if though, whatever the size or shape or what kind of genitals that you have, whatever you have, if that's okay, if that was okay, I mean, i i the world will be such a free, such a liberating space for intersex people, right? Whatever they have is okay, whatever they choose is okay, yeah. So okay, where I'm going with this is this. Okay, um so ever since I came up, which was December of 2021, you know no, wait a minute. Yeah, wait, 2020. So yeah, 2020. um and I'm actually kind of coming to terms, finally, with my non-binary transness, right? So like, as we had this conversation, Noah, that like, I mean, at the end of the day, I am doing hormone treatment because that's what I chose for myself, that feels right, right? So I am transitioning, uh female to male, right? But I don't intend to have surgery ever, because that doesn't feel right to me. I don't have any intention to change my body, because I feel like at the end of the day, it's not about. I mean, I am not my vagina. Okay, so I am not my vagina. Okay, I have it, but hey, I mean, I'm not that. So, that's the thing, though. So, I just don't understand it. Like, why are people so obsessed? With the genitals? I mean,
See, that's why I call them groomers. That's exactly why I call them groomers. It's the most serious projection issue that you ever can see. It's like they're projecting that their own feelings onto us. Like, okay, well, you're gonna call me a groomer. Okay, well, thank you for telling me that you are an actual groomer. Like, why I've asked that same question all the time. It's like, why the fuck are we focused on fucking genitals? Like, come on, it's not
that's so
okay.
weird.
It is not that serious. Okay, it really is not that serious. But let me
Yeah.
go ahead and actually bring this point up. Who brought that conversation up, though, as of late when it comes to anatomy? Think about it. And yes, I am going to acknowledge your name, even though I don't want to. It is the TERF movement. The TERF movement has engaged this conversation open again, tightened, has influenced a lot of right wingers, fascists, whatever. They're
Mm.
coming after us. It's insane. I actually kind of an unrelated with the intersex though. I watched a video today. I don't know. I can't remember how long ago this was, but there was a guy saying that we need to shoot all homosexuals in the head. This is how dangerous it is. We have talked about, like the different generational differences when it comes to LGBTQ. Like I said many times, back when I was growing up, trans, non-binary, that conversation was not taking place. It was lesbians, gays, and bisexuals, and all we heard was about the violence against them.
Mm.
Now the trans community is kind of they're experiencing that type of hate too. But now they're actually bringing that back to the lesbian, gays, and bisexuals. I actually read a tweet the other
Mm.
day where this kid in Florida, they're bringing back the F slur again.
Mm. Mm.
They're basically threatening to jump them again. The fuck is going on here, people? This is why we do not have time to be wasting our mental energy on petty bullshit. This shit is real. Like I said in my message, people throw these topics out on purpose. And like you have said, Tsukuru, it is by design. They know that we're going to engage in those conversations just so that they can distract what the overall issue, what they're trying to do to get their agenda across.
Mm.
This is why we must fight back. Everybody deserves a voice. I encourage people, even mental health professionals, there needs to be more research done for this.
Yeah.
Talk to them. I would be very interested to know about any type of other stats when it comes to the intersex community. But for me personally, I have not found any. It's hard to find.
Mm-hmm.
You can find some trans stats too. But again, even research with the trans community is kind of lacking.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's something that I'm currently
That's
working on
serious.
now.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm working on right now with my professor. Like, because what we're doing basically, I'll give you guys kind of a little bit of a sneak peek of what we're doing. We're basically finding trans and non-binary therapists, like actual licensed therapists. We're going to be interviewing and trying to gain their perspective as to why there isn't a lot of trans mental health providers out there. Because what I experienced at my last site, my gender identity being the reason everything was getting hyped up and over exaggerated, that's part of the reason why. That's why it's even challenging. Like I would actually bet it's probably really challenging for an intersex person to even get that recognition that they want. I actually learned too the term intersex. That's been around since the 1700s. It actually meant between the sexes.
Mm-hmm.
I found that very interesting. So yes, the term intersex has been around for a long time. It's not like they magically existed.
Mm-hmm.
It's been around for ages. And
Yeah. I mean, it's like okay, I don't want to say the same thing, but it's the same thing as like homosexuality or transgender identity too, though, because I mean we've always been existed, in primitive cultures. You know what they say, but then they made it taboo somewhere along the way. Um, I mean, I don't want to like lump it like all together, but like Western ideology, when they came into play, like they made it taboo, but like we've always been around. It's actually documented. There were gay people,
yes,
homosexuals, trans people like us. We've always been. I mean, we've always existed and accepted. You know, um yeah, so
but there is something interesting I actually want to point out that was in this documentary. There were some of them, they're saying that they didn't even get to experience puberty. That was very interesting to me to see. I didn't even know that. I humbled myself when I learned about it. During that time, you think kids are mean these days? I mean, imagine being an intersex person
mm,
in that type of age. Kids are hella judgmental. But again, I want to highly emphasize I don't think it's all the kids' fault. It is the parents' fault. That is where I put the responsibility and blame in. Because they're teaching shit like this to their kids and to be hateful.
Mm.
I could just only imagine what they went through. And you know, there was another term that somebody described in that documentary, escaping their body. Trans people feel the same exact way when they don't have access to transition, or even if they're socially transitioning. It's hard for us when we're not starting hormones. I mean, it's just because, like, I, I don't want to make this all about me, but
Mm.
there's a point. But when I first came out and I socially transitioned, I didn't pass. I didn't have hair. I obviously had boobs. It's hard. During that time, I wanted to crawl out of my own fucking skin. I didn't want anything to do with it. Imagine that with an intersex person. Again, I do not wish that feeling on any of my enemies. I mean, it is honestly like the worst thing. There is
Mm.
another story too that I personally actually had to pause and I actually did cry. There is a, I'm going to try not to get emotional though, but there is this person on there and they were talking about when they were 14 years old. The own clinic, they basically told this kid that they were nothing, that they were fucking nothing. That degrades somebody. I actually, oh, hold on, I'm trying to find this. I
Mm.
agree with Brandy. It is definitely the parents' fault. They repeat what they hear at home. That's why it's important for all parents. Don't impose your own garbage values onto your children. Let them learn this shit themselves. This is why we have generational divides, by the way. I said this before. We have a generation that basically is saying, oh, we know better. Y'all need to shut the fuck up and stay silent because we know exactly what the hell we're doing. But then we have other parts of generations that are actually out there saying, no, we need to not shut the fuck up. We need to use our voice and we need to be out there advocating for shit to be better.
Mm.
This divide needs to stop. I do not believe in labels. That's why I'm actually, from here on out, I'm not even going to have a political label on me. I'm not going to call myself a socialist or a communist. I'm just going to call myself as somebody that wants human rights acknowledged and implemented. Labels are toxic. I do not like labels. They reinforce stigmas. But I wanted to go ahead and see if you had any additional thoughts about this, Tsukuru, because I got to process what I just was saying. So
Yeah. No, that's why it's good to good that we there are two of us. So yeah.
yeah.
Well, first of all, okay, so um, I think it's okay to reference yourself, Noah, because that's what I do all the time. I think because that's the only reference point that we have, right? I mean, at the end of the day, so I think it's important to listen to other people with different experiences, and try to understand their perspectives and their realities. And it's I think it's important to kind of reflect back on yourself, because that's the reference point you got, the only one. So having said that, I was just like kind of thinking that you know how it is for non-binary people, and that includes myself. So non-binary people are essentially you know saying that please accept us as we are. you know our genitals don't matter. um the way we look doesn't even matter, right? I mean, just accept us. But then, we are getting pushbacks from people who say, no, no, non-binary don't exist. It shouldn't exist because the world is just male and female. you know um when all we are saying is that, well, why not there couldn't be just me, you know, uh I am this way, I have my own experience, uh I have my thoughts, I have my feelings, I have my own reality. Why can't people honor that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So from that reference point, I can kind of, again, as you said, like, I don't pretend to understand intersex experience because it can't be done, because I don't have that experience. But
Right.
I kind of, I can reference, and I kind of do understand in a way that, like, what it's like to be told that no, you know your experience or your identity is not valid because it doesn't fit the social norm, you know. So
See,
that's what I was thinking about.
we talked about this too in the transitioning episode of the Trans Files. Trans guys, trans women, please stop shaming the non binary community. Like, I'm serious. It's getting fucking ridiculous. Like I said before, I had a trans woman try to tell me that the non binary community is a fad. I've seen trans men shame non binary people because they don't fit in that binary scale. That
Mm,
it's strictly just a male and female society. The fuck it isn't. The non-binary, it if you really want to go there, analyze that scale because it's there. It's right there. It's all in that middle in betweens. Stop shaming them. And same with trans men and trans women. Not all of us are going to want to fully medically transition.
mm,
Some people are very content with just having like top surgery. Some are content with just having all of it. So please do not shame others. That's the last thing you want to do. On just a
mm.
second, I actually was looking up something real quick, but go ahead, Tsukuru. I'm actually going to look up an article real quick.
Okay. Oh wait, okay. I'm just actually gonna bring up this first because it's in order. Okay, so Brandy was saying I have explains to mine at 14, 15, and 16 what trans is, and it as an educational lesson when someone they either went to school with came out or someone in our circles. Yeah. And then she was saying my kids have grown up around couples and people who are lesbian and gay, so it wasn't a stretch for them to understand. Yeah, so that's why though I think it's actually crucial, for kids to be exposed. I mean, exposed to um, people with different experiences, different identities, because it educates them and it widens their perspectives. Okay, so I mean, when it just really doesn't make sense to me, like when people say like, "Oh, you can't teach kids that because they're gonna turn gay or they're gonna turn trans. It'll make them gay." I mean, that's a stupid statement. Okay, I mean,
It's a garbage statement. It's not actually. Let me go ahead and put it in my own motto. It is a vile garbage statement. There, I fixed it.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just it always baffles my mind that like people believe that teaching them that merely teaching them like, okay, gay, lesbian, trans people, bisexual people, intersex people exist, and that's so scary for them, and they say, oh, no, 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 because you can't teach kids that because they'll turn out to be gay or trans, lesbian, whatnot. And yeah, and also like like how some people say that, oh, they are too young to learn that, when it's never too young for them to be taught how to be female or how to be male, right? I mean, we do that to them all the time,
Mm-hmm.
you know I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me. It's, yeah.
those type of arguments don't make sense. How I just see it is just that they have serious projection issues, and they probably fucking are probably secretly in the closet. And see, that's what kind of like goes through my mind too when I see all those type of attacks. It's like, yeah. Normally, I would probably be like, you know what? They are probably being fucking hateful as fuck. However, on the same breath, it also makes me wonder: is like, were they ever in the closet? Were they suppressed? And this is how they're taking it out on it. And then at that point, that's when I would actually go and sit there and say, you need to go get mental health counseling.
Oh, this makes me mad. Thank you, JT. Yeah, I know this. Yeah,
Seen it all the
yeah.
time. That's why I don't engage in some of the support groups anymore, because I see it all the fucking time in those groups.
Mm,
You sit there and say, no, we shouldn't be shaming people, then why the fuck are you allowing it in your groups? Like I said, non-binary people are valid too. They
yeah.
are valid.
Well, see, it works like this though, and I don't. I just can't understand why they don't get it because, okay, if trans people or whoever, if you want to validate your existence, you have to validate other people's existence as well. It goes both ways. You can't be saying that some people's identity does not exist and insist your own identity because that doesn't work like that. you know if trans people, I mean binary trans people, want to be honored, want their identity be honored, they have to honor non-binary trans identity too.
Because they get the same exact shit that the trans community gets too. They say that we're a fad. We're trying to fucking manipulate children, and we're trying to push this fucking like, I guess to them it's garbage to them. We are not trying to do that at all. We are simply just trying to just advocate that we need to have an inclusive society. That's really it. I don't know why they feel the need that they have to go and spread misinformation, but oh wait, yeah, they are fascists. I call TERFs fascists. They're the biggest kind.
Hmm. And
But
in my mind, it always goes back to this question, like, why are you so afraid? What are you afraid of? Anytime people want to say something does not exist or something they don't approve of something, it's like, okay, so why is that so threatening to you? Why are you afraid of losing, for instance? If you if you admit trans people exist, if you admit trans people valid, what makes you so afraid?
mm-hmm.
What are you gonna, what do you think you're gonna lose by validating us? That's an interesting question, right? I mean,
I
you know,
say let's do a challenge. If we see that shit, ask that question. Like, what are you so afraid of? Like, why are you so intimidated? I mean, it's just insane. But I know we're getting close to the close, so I wanted to go ahead and just say this closing thought. This is a PSA to everybody else in the LGBTQ community. Please bring more awareness to the I in our acronym. Encourage them to speak. Provide a safe space for them to speak. They do experience shit a lot worse than the trans community. I'm just going to be real. We get it bad, but they get it worse. The awareness is very low on them. And I encourage everybody to, if you know anybody, encourage them to use their voice. Society has scared most of us from using our voice. The time is now. We need to be using our voice. Do not let fear dictate your life. Instead, Use it as a motivator to fight harder and to keep pushing. We need an equal society. We need to provide a society to where everybody can fit in. Fuck gender norms, okay? Ignore them. It's a very divisive topic. We are who we are. We do not have to confine to gender norms. Trans men, trans women, if you all want to fully medically transition, hooray. If some that don't, do not shame them. I just want to go ahead and put that PSA out there. You wouldn't want it done to you, so don't do it to them. And if you have had it done to you and you're engaging in that behavior, put your mind back at that place when you were experiencing that for the first time. It probably didn't feel good. So think before you go on and engage in a conversation like this. More of us are dying. And as an update, 27 trans lives have now been lost. These last two were killed by the police because they had a mental health crisis. Cops went trigger happy on them. I was reading the story with Aaron Lynch, actually. The cops initially, the first time, showed up with a mental health worker. Soon as they came back a second time without the mental health worker, they tased this dude and they shot him 4 times. That shit is not okay. And if anybody is advocating that we need to give more money to cops, I'm sorry. No, we should not. Maddie Hoffman, that one hit hard for me too. Because she was 47 years old. She was going through a mental health crisis. She was an immigrant from Korea. Cops went in there and just shot her. And they tried to pull the garbage defense. Oh, she was trying to take the weapon away from me. I'm going to bet money that didn't happen. But then again, I wasn't there. And I do understand as a mental health professional, crisis actually presents itself differently. They could be right. But I don't know.
Yeah.
This is not okay.
Never understood actually, sorry to, never understood why police has to go, I mean, it just seems so wrong to me because like they're not trained mental health professionals. I mean, why are they go there? Why are they? I mean, I just don't. When the first time I heard about this, the police are required to go, to when they're called, for the mental health crisis. I was like, huh, what? Because it just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, first of all, why do they go there? But why do they go there with gun? Okay.
That triggers fucking people, especially if they have like severe psychosis. That triggers them.
Of course. I mean, so that's why I don't understand it. That doesn't make sense. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
That's why I've been saying cops should not have any business working with people who have mental health, having a mental health issue, I should say.
Right.
They should be nowhere near it. I mean, if they are per se, like for backup though, like if it actually is justified, I mean, I guess I can kind of see it in that way. If it was just the professional and the client that's there. And I apologize. I mean, I'm trained in crisis. Once I get my master's, I suppose if I really wanted to do that, I could. But I've seen firsthand here where I'm at, how mental health professionals are. They start off with really good intentions, and then somewhere in the system, their values change. And they just put them behind them and conform to it. It's depressing to see. I've seen it many times. I don't know if there's any deaths with the internet sex community. I'm sure there is. And I apologize, I don't even have that number. But please show love and solidarity to our intersex siblings. Give them a voice. Don't buy into the stupid garbage stigmas that they're freaks, because they're not. They're just human beings like you and I. It is not our place to judge. If they ask you questions when it comes to transitioning, please be open to it. Don't shame them either. The last thing we need as a community is more division and divides. The LGBTQIA plus is a community where there's a representation of people that are unique, that don't live within the norm. And that's actually pretty fucking cool in my book. Please continue to support everybody in the community. And I wanted to actually pass this to you, Tsukuru, if you had any final thoughts before we closed.
Yeah. So my final thoughts. It's time to fight for liberation for all.
Yes.
Um. So yeah. So I think at this point, whoever's watching this knows about October 1st, National Day of Action to End Violence and Genocide on Transgender People. Um, yes, so it's really time. Now is the time for us to stand up. But I do have to emphasize, transgender non-binary folks. Yes, we are standing up and making our voices heard, but we are not only fighting for our rights. It's actually fight for all people. And that's what we have to get, and that's what others have to get, because what we are asking for is our human rights. And as Noah said, human rights actually, I mean, we can't, when we talk about human rights, we actually cannot talk about human rights for only one group. We are actually talking about human rights for all. When we are talking about healthcare, we are not talking about, only our healthcare. Actually, our healthcare is included in a bigger and larger conversation of healthcare for all. So, let's stand up. Let's, um, yeah, let's stand tall, because we are fighting for liberation for all. So that's it. That's all I have to say.
And actually, I wanted to go ahead. I was going to ask before we actually really, really close, but do you have any updates when it comes to this protest that you'd feel comfortable sharing with the audience right now? Because right
Well,
now,
actually, yeah. So I should have created this the scroll, I think the banner. I forgot. I totally forgot about that. But so it's kind of short notice because it's Wednesday already. But we are having a first national organizing call on Sunday, which is September 4th, right? September 4th, 9 to 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, right? It's done on Zoom. So whoever is interested, hit us up. I guess. Okay, how? Okay, how? Okay. Well, I mean, both Noah and I have Twitter account. Noah has very active TikTok account. I do have a TikTok account, very inactive, but I can, you can, I guess you can follow me and message me, and I follow back so pretty quick. So yeah, um, oh, okay, yeah, that's yeah.
yeah, I had to add that in there.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, yeah. So it's Sunday, September 4th, 9 to 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Anyone's invited, but yeah. But the only people who kind of pre-register, Yeah, okay, yeah. You can, I guess, contact us via our website. So, yeah, whoever
Yep, I was
is
gonna say
interested,
that too.
yeah, reach out to me or to us, and yeah, let's talk about this. Let's, yeah,
Yeah, let's really get this going. We want to make this a nationwide thing, okay? And just to emphasize, like this protest could be held in multiple cities within the state, so it doesn't have to actually be in one state. Like, I mean, I know right now we're trying to get more stuff out here organized here in California as well, because California is a huge state and there is a lot to cover here in California. So, I mean, we're constantly working on California. And if you know anybody that wants to help out, please contact us
yep.
because we definitely want to make sure that we guide you in that right direction. But you look like you wanted to say something,
No,
Sukuru.
no, I just heard somebody reached out to me from Las Vegas. So we
Oh,
probably have a protest in Las Vegas, people. So if you wanna like go to Las Vegas, gamble and protest, by all
yes.
means. Okay, I'm not encourage gambling, but if you like gambling, hey, yeah, I mean, yeah, kill two birds with one stone, right? Go to Las Vegas, gamble, go to shows, whatever, and do protest. How is that?
Oh yeah, yes, Vegas. We're also working on Pennsylvania right now, so we may have a protest out in Pennsylvania. We've had inquiries about New York, Illinois. We definitely, actually, I really want to highly emphasize these two states. I encourage people to step up in Texas and Florida. Those are the two main states. And each protest in each state, I want you to please research any anti-trans legislation that is getting introduced and protest that and demand that it should not pass. That is the requirement because it is
Also,
everywhere. There's like what, over
right.
400 anti-trans legislation that's getting introduced now. So
Yep.
research your own state. If you find people that are co-sponsoring Marjorie Taylor Greene's
Yep.
bill, pressure the fuck out of them. Get them the fuck out of their seats. We need to get rid. I mean, I don't want to engage in the Trump derangement syndrome talking points, I guess, but we need to like get rid of them. Like the MAGA Republicans, they scare the fuck out of me. They need to go because the more that they get elected, the high, in my opinion at least, the more I'm actually going to fear that that will pass.
Yeah,
So
last I
let's
checked
pressure them.
yesterday, it's up to 19 co-sponsors.
Oh
So yeah,
shit.
pay attention. It's increasing, day by day. So yeah, definitely pay attention. Like who in your state is co-sponsoring, and just like Noah said, we need to vote them out in November.
Get
That's
them the
that's
fuck
one
out of
power.
there.
That's one power we have. That's one toolbox. That's not everything. That's one toolbox we have. We have to use every tool in our toolbox right now. But I just want to give a shout out to Arkansas because we are going to have a protest or two definitely in Arkansas. So, woo!
Arkansas. Okay, so yes, California, Arkansas. We're working on Washington too.
Yeah, yeah,
So there may be a possibility. There may be two areas that we're focusing on in Washington. We're focusing on Seattle and the Tacoma area. We're also focusing on Spokane as well. In California, we definitely would like to get parts of Central California involved. We would like to get San Francisco involved. I've pretty much given up on Sacramento because Sacramento is kind of just out there. So,
yeah. I mean,
but
okay.
if
So if
anybody does, if
right. And
anybody does
and,
want to,
and though if anyone is like willing to come down to LA, hey,
hey,
yeah,
LA
come
is
down to
pretty
LA.
fun,
Yeah, yeah.
minus
So
the traffic, but LA is actually really fun. Parts of LA are kind of overrated, though. I'm not gonna lie. I do think, like Hollywood is very overrated. But
yep.
like other than that, LA is pretty nice. I mean, well,
Mm,
minus the fact that there's homeless camps on every corner. I only kind of,
Right.
it's just depressing to see that's another issue. But I want to thank
Yeah.
everybody for tuning in tonight. Please continue to like, share, and subscribe. We are on different platforms. We are on Anchor. We are on Spotify. We're on Amazon, Apple, Google. Please check us out. Please continue to support this network. I also encourage all my LGBTQIA plus siblings to please step up. Join us on October 1st, as well as allies. Please join us on that protest. I encourage more of my siblings to please join this network. Let's get your voice out there. Let's get you heard. The time to be silent is no more. Use your voice. I want to say much love to you all, and please stay safe out there.
Yeah.
Life is short.
Stay cool too. It's fucking hot out here.
Oh my God, it's over 100 degrees here. So yeah,
Yeah,
no, please
yeah.
stay cool.
And okay, sorry. I know it's closing, but just wanted to say that homeless people, right now, they are dying of this heat. I don't know what to say. Be kind to them. Yeah, just pay attention. Like if somebody's like at risk of dehydration or whatever, just be kind. Like buy them water if you could. If you could. They seriously are dying out there right now. This is this heat is very dangerous. So
Yes, take care of everybody.
yep.
Totally am behind that. I'll make sure I like when I go to work, I'll make sure I have some like bottled water or something, cool it off, and then just give it out if I see anybody. So, but yes, anyways, much love to you all. This was a great episode. Tune in for next Wednesday for the Trans Files, and I'm sure we're going to be talking about something amazing. But if you also, just a PSA, if anybody has a particular issue that they want to talk about, please let us know, and we will definitely talk about it. So,
Yep.
much love to you all. We will see you all next time.
Thank you, everyone.
Oh, shit.